You want to start homesteading, but you don't have an extra penny to spare. I've been there, and I want to tell you, you can start. You could start this weekend without any extra money. If you want to know how, we're going to talk about it in this episode. We're going to get into how you can start homesteading today, this weekend, right away, even if you don't have any extra money, what you can do to grow this homestead dream without spending anything, how you can, over time, start saving some money by your different homesteading endeavors so that you can grow this dream, and then long term, how you can actually have enough money where you can invest more and more into your homestead, where it's feeding your family, you're living off the land, all starting today with not a penny down. Let's get into starting a homestead with no money. We started homesteading about 15 years ago, and I can promise you we did not have any extra money to put into this hobby. I was a construction worker who didn't make a ton of money. We had a new baby, and my wife was a stay-at-home mom. So we were really strapped for money. We didn't have any extra income. And yet we were able to get started homesteading in a third-story apartment with no land of our own, no land to work with. From that very humble start, we were able to, over time, grow our homestead dreams. We were able to get some land and some animals. And using what I call the mint method, we were able to not only get access to land to work with and start homesteading, we were offered free livestock, free chickens. We were offered free, really high-quality dairy goats. We were offered a free cow once. We have been offered free access to land, been given materials, butcher supplies, fencing equipment, fencing supplies, all with this mint method. So we're going to get into today, what is this mint method? How can you use it if you want to homestead but you don't have any extra money? I also have a warning for you at the end of this. If you're going to start homesteading and you don't have a lot of extra income right now, just something that you need to know, that you need to be ready for. So we'll save that warning for the end. It can be frustrating. If you want to homestead, you have these dreams, maybe you've watched YouTube videos and things, and you want to have the property, you want to have the chickens, you want to plant some tomatoes, but you don't have any cash to buy chickens or to build a chicken coop, you don't have any money to go out and buy seeds. It can be very frustrating. But I want you to just for a second realize something really important, which is this can actually be a really good thing for you. I know it doesn't seem like it right now, but if you're at the very beginning of this journey, you have no experience, not having money to throw at a homestead, it can actually keep you out of trouble. Imagine for a second that you wanted to be a pilot, right? You wanted to be able to fly planes and travel the world, get in your plane and go. What would you do first? The smart thing would not be to go out and buy a 747 and jump in and see what happens, right? Because there's going to be a lot of fire and a lot of death, I think, if you were to go that route. If you wanted to be a pilot who could fly around the world, the first thing you would do is maybe read about it, learn about it online, maybe watch some videos, maybe download a flight simulator and learn how to work a plane on the computer. Do as much research as you can. And then if you decide, no, I really want to do this, you take that further, right? You attend a flight school, and a major part of flight school, they have what's called ground school, which is just at-home learning or in-class learning in books about all the physics, the mathematics, everything you need to know about how to get the plane running and all that. And then they also have hands-on flight training where you go into a plane and you're the co-pilot next to a pilot who's got lots of experience, and they teach you how to do everything. You go through that, you log your hours, you learn how to fly at night, you learn how to fly without instruments, all these different steps, and then you can go and you can get your license and you can buy your plane. Buying a farm with no experience, it would be a lot like buying that 747 without knowing how to fly it. It makes for a good YouTube channel. It's fun to watch people like run away from the city and buy a farm and not know what they're doing at first. It can seem like a lot of fun, and if you can do it and you want to go that route, you're going to have a good time. You're going to learn a lot of things the hard way. But unfortunately, like that 747, there's going to be a lot of problems and probably a lot of death because you don't know how to handle the plants. You don't know how to handle the livestock. You don't know how to handle all the, the ecosystem that is a homestead. you're going to wind up seeing this property and think, oh, I want to put some fruit trees, and you're going to put them over here, only realizing that doesn't really get that good sun or good drainage. You know, I'll put the garden back here, only to realize the garden's far too far away from your house, and you never wind up out there and the weeds take over. You know, I'll put the chicken coop right here, and that's where you find out, like, you know, it's too close to the wood line and the bears come out of the woods and eat your chickens. You know, you put goats in a pen with no experience, not realizing the goats can jump over the fence or get out through the cracks. Or you put the sheep in this particular pasture that's too small and they wind up getting a worm infestation. This isn't imaginary. These are all things that we experienced in the early days going to our very first farm and kind of learning as we went. So instead of diving in and just trying to do everything and design everything with no skill, wasting a bunch of money and winding up really, really frustrated, people who have a lot of money to spare can wind up in that place, right? If you have a lot of money to spare and you throw it at a new homestead and you buy everything, you can find out that, you know what, this was not a good way to do things. So even if you do have money, you shouldn't go out and buy that farm and do it like that. But for those of you who don't, and that's who this video is for, the way you should start homesteading, the way you should begin your journey, it really doesn't require any money at all. So let's imagine that you have the dream of starting, for example, a pastured pork farm. It all starts with the sausage. This method can be done with no extra money, and it will cause your homesteading journey to snowball. So where it's going to start off really small and really simple, it's going to gather speed, and before you know it, things are going to be progressing a lot quicker and you're going to be doing a lot more than what you do at the beginning. So you have this dream in your head, right? You've been watching YouTube and you see people who have these cute pigs and they're out in the pasture, they're eating grass and they're living in the woods, and people are rotationally grazing these pigs, and this just calls to you. You think, I really want to have a pastured pig farm. I want to have pigs outside and I want to sell pork to my neighbors and, you know, just create something that's self-sufficient, that feeds my family, feeds the neighborhood. That's your dream. That's an awesome dream, but you don't want to start by going out and buying a pig farm. You don't want to start by going out and buying a pig. You want to start with the sausage. So what do I mean? It's really simple. You go to the grocery store every week, right? And you buy food every week. Let's say every week you go to the grocery store and you buy some Jimmy Dean sausages, right? I actually checked. The price of Jimmy Dean sausage near me is about $8 per pound for a box of Jimmy Dean sausage patties. So you go down to Walmart and you buy Jimmy Dean sausage patties, and now you're thinking someday you'd like to have your own. You'd like to produce your own pastured pork, right? So this weekend, when you would normally go and buy your groceries, instead of buying the sausage patties, go out and buy just a package of ground pork. Now I looked in my area and I found a package of ground pork I could get for about $4 a pound at a store like Walmart, right? So you go from spending $8 a pound on the Jimmy Dean patties to $4 a pound. You've already saved money. You have no extra money to start this homestead dream, right? That's why we're here. Now you're actually saving money. You're buying just ground pork. With the $4 that you saved, now what I want you to do is I want you to go online and just Google sausage recipe. Breakfast sausage, hot Italian, spicy Italian, not so hot or spicy Italian, you know, smoky sausage, whatever you like, whatever sausage you enjoy. Breakfast sausage, find some recipes and look at the spices that you need. Maybe you're going to need in every one some salt, some pepper, maybe some sage, some sugar. Find what spices are often repeated in these recipes and buy these if you can, in bulk. Now you've only saved $4, so you're probably not going to buy them in bulk. Maybe you'll just buy a couple small ones. But over time, you're going to see how this starts to snowball, right? So you buy yourself a little bit of sage, you buy yourself some salt, some pepper, maybe you already had some sugar at home. You got what you need, and you got your ground pork. Now you're going to online look at these different recipes, watch some YouTube videos, see what people use to make a nice breakfast sausage. Get your ground pork out, get a couple metal bowls, mix the spices, and do an A and a B test. So one recipe here, one recipe here. Mix them all together, form your patties, and then at the end of the day, fry up 2 patties, try them both out, share them with your family, see what your favorite sausage patty recipe is. And next week, I want you to repeat this process, but with your favorite pick, that favorite recipe, and then a different one, right? And so over time, each week, when you normally would go out and buy sausage patties, you're actually going to be making these, you're going to be saving money every single week, and you're going to be perfecting your recipe. You're going to be figuring out what is the perfect breakfast patty, what's the perfect spicy Italian patty, what's best for you. And now you're going to have yourself a signature sausage patty. I've actually done this. My kids ask for it by name. It's called the Daddy Patty. The kids come in, Daddy, you want some Daddy Patty? So I have a signature sausage patty recipe, and we mix it up in bulk every couple months. We'll take a bunch of our pork, and we'll mix it. We'll make a big batch of Daddy Patties. So now you're going to have your signature patty, and that's something you can be really proud of. You can share with friends and family. This will be something people come to know. Ooh, you know, so-and-so's patties, your patties. They like the flavor, they like the texture, everything. It's going to be signature. The cool thing is, after you've done this week by week, you've replaced your grocery bill, you've saved money every single week, this is going to start to snowball. Every single week that you're buying the bulk sausage and making your own patties, you're saving $4 in cash. I want you to take a little envelope. You're going to write the word grinder on that envelope, and every week you're going to be putting a couple more bucks that you saved on your groceries into that envelope. So you're not spending any extra money, you're actually saving money on this endeavor, right? Eventually you're going to have enough money in that envelope to buy yourself a grinder. Now you're not going to go out to Cabela's and find a brand new shiny grinder for $400, $500, right? You don't have enough extra money to do that. Instead, you're going to do what I read in an article from Backwoods Home Magazine. They had a recent article on frugal homesteading, which I thought was fantastic. And by the way, they are a sponsor of Homesteady, Backwoods Home Magazine. Check them out. I'll have a link in the description for their magazine, some really great tips. They had this article on frugal homesteading, and they talked about how helpful it is if you want to get started, because equipment is so expensive and you're going to need to buy a lot of stuff, to look secondhand. So you can look at secondhand stores, thrift stores, you might find some things there. They also mentioned you can look online at like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, any kind of clubs or groups who do this sort of thing. Just frequent these sources. Check back often to see if you can find some secondhand equipment. Maybe if you look long enough and you're not rushing out to get this, you'll wind up seeing somebody who is getting out of this hobby. Somebody who has a really nice grinder, but maybe they're getting too old to do their own butchering, or they don't do it anymore and they need a couple extra bucks. You're putting money aside for this equipment that you know you need, and you're constantly watching to see at your different online and offline stores and sources if you can find this piece of equipment for a lot cheaper. And while you're at it, tell your friends, tell your family, whoever's eating these yummy sausage patties you're making, hey, I'm looking for a grinder if you know anybody. There was a lot of really great advice in that Backwoods Home article, so don't forget to check out the Backwoods Home magazine. We'll have a link in the description below. It's a great magazine. It'll help you out in your journey of homesteading, learning about different skills and different things you can do on your homestead, and it had some great tips in that article about how to do it frugally. Over time, you'll stumble across the piece of equipment that you're looking for. Now you buy this piece of equipment, this grinder, and this is where things really start to get exciting. They really start to snowball. Instead of going out and buying ground pork, now you can buy pork shoulder. Just get a whole pork shoulder. In my area, I can find that again at a big box store like a Walmart for around $2 per pound. So now we're saving $6 per pound on the meat. Grab a knife, and now I'm learning how to debone pork off of that shoulder. That's a skill that you're going to be applying in your future homestead dreams. You're going to take that, and now you can actually grind your own pork. Grind it up, find the size grind that you like. Maybe you like a small, fine grind. Maybe you like a big, larger, coarser grind. Mix in your ingredients. Make your patties. Now you're saving even more money every week that you can put aside towards growing this homestead goal, growing this homestead dream. And you're learning skills and acquiring equipment. Slowly but surely, you're going to be able to do more and more. And this is where it gets really cool, because now with the skills you have and the equipment you have, you can start pivoting in different directions. You know how to make pork sausage now. You can also make hamburger. You can buy a cow shoulder or a cow quarter and take that and turn it into just regular old hamburger. You can do ground venison. You can do ground lamb and do different mixes for different recipes. As you get more skilled in deboning this meat and doing your own grinds and your own mixes, maybe you start buying pork instead of buying it, just one pork shoulder. You start buying quarters, or what they call primals, the major cuts of a pig. You buy a whole pork primal and you learn to break that down. And maybe you watch some YouTube videos and you see, okay, how do I take a Boston butt? How do I cut up a pork shoulder? And over time, you're learning more skills, you're saving money, you're developing your own recipes, your own product lines, really. In the future, that can be your product lines from your homestead. Eventually, you might get to this point where you no longer are going to Walmart to buy your pork. You're not buying bulk pork from a big box store. You're actually going to a local farm and you're saying, listen, I want to buy a half of a hog carcass. So they'll take the pig to the butcher will kill the pig and he'll gut it and he'll have a half a carcass there waiting for you. And you take that half a carcass home and you throw it on your kitchen counter. And you now, from watching videos, reading books, learning bit by bit these skills, you now can break down this whole pig all by yourself. You can take this half carcass and turn it into quarters, and then those quarters you can turn in all the different cuts that you like. You at this point know that you like your pork chops, and you know the thickness, you know how you like your hams, and you know what parts you want to turn into these famous sausage patties that you make. The point is, over time, you didn't spend any extra money, you saved money. All the money you save starts to pile up and allow you to get more equipment, more tools, and you learn skills. And now you are much more prepared for that future pig farm than the person who has a bunch of money and just dives in the deep end of the pig farm. And maybe you're thinking, that sounds really cool, but how do I learn these skills, right? You're talking about breaking down pigs and breaking down half of a pig. And this is just one example, right? Maybe we're talking about different things. It's not just a pastured pig farm. Well, this is where the mint method really comes into play. So think about how mint works, the plant. Have you ever planted mint before? If you haven't started homesteading, you probably haven't planted mint before. Maybe you don't know. Mint is incredibly invasive. It spreads like a weed. Mint spreads like a weed. Once you plant mint, you pretty much can't stop it from growing. It's unstoppable force and it just spreads. And that's because mint grows in two different directions. Mint sends roots downward, down deep, and then it also sends rhizomes out the side. And all these different mint plants start popping up where that one little mint plant went right in. So it goes down deep and it goes out the side. This method of growing, of spreading, this is how you're going to learn and grow your homestead over time, this mint method. What do I mean by that? Well, if we go back to this example of the pilot, right? The pilot learns in his books, he reads, he takes his lessons, and then he goes and he sits in a cockpit next to somebody and he flies around. We're going to do the same thing with our homestead skills. When it comes to something like learning to butcher, right? That's a skill that is very specialized. It can be very intimidating. So we're going to do two things to learn how to butcher a pig or learn how to break down a pig's shoulder, right? First thing we're going to go down deep into the literature. We're going to read books. We're going to watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, all the information that we can dive deep into so that these concepts are in our head, so that we understand the right terms. We know the questions to ask. We're going to become as familiar as we possibly can with this process. That's going down deep, sending those roots down deep into all this information, everything we can soak up, everything we can find. But then just like that mint plant, we're going to also go sideways. We're going to go outward and start networking and learning from people around us. So we're going to find people who know how to butcher, and we're going to talk to them. We're going to ask them questions, maybe offer to help, right? This is how I learned to butcher a pig myself. We actually started raising pigs. I didn't know how to butcher them. I just knew how to feed them and how to care for livestock. But I didn't know how to butcher them. And for the first couple of years that we raised pigs on our homestead, I actually would take them to a butcher to be processed, and that is very expensive. If you want to start homesteading, but you don't have any extra money, then you definitely aren't ready to feed a pig, and you're in no way ready to pay for someone to process that pig for you. Pig processing can go from anywhere from $500 a pig to up towards $1,000 a pig. It can get really crazy depending on how much processing you have done, where you live, what the rates are where you live, and who you have do it. So we started raising pigs. We didn't have a whole lot extra money. At the time, we were kind of putting it all into feeding pigs. And then we had to pay the butcher to process these pigs for us. So it was a lot of expense. And I wanted to know, how could I get rid of the butcher? How could I make it so that my family, we butcher our own pigs? I didn't know how to do it, and no one around me was doing any courses or classes. So what happened? Well, my network. Everybody I talked to, I talked about my pigs and how I raise pigs, and I was constantly seeing if people were interested in buying pork. And I actually wound up selling pork to somebody whose father-in-law was a professional butcher for a supermarket for his entire professional life. He butchered pigs every day. Now, he was retired. He didn't do it anymore. And so, of course, being an old retired guy with not a whole lot of things to do at the time, he was excited to dive in and actually butcher a pig. So his son-in-law had purchased this pig from me, and he was like, listen, don't take it to the butcher. We're going to butcher it ourselves. So I offered, hey, you guys can do it at my place, and I will help you, but I just want to learn how to do it. So by growing my network, by talking with people, mentioning what I was up to, what I had for sale, all this stuff, you know, I'm sending those roots outward, just like that mint plant. I wound up finding somebody who knew how to do this, and it was in their best interests to do it. And I offered the location, which, you know, butchering can be kind of messy, so it was nice that they could do it at my place. And I was there to help, provide some tools. I got to learn firsthand from a professional how to butcher a pig. And that is a skill that now has saved me thousands and thousands of dollars in my continued homesteading journey. That's how this works. You continue to snowball each skill, each bit of knowledge that you acquire. The more and more you can do yourself, the more money you can save. You can take that money and put it into equipment, put it into education, put it into whatever you need to keep growing this homestead dream. Slow and steady. I raised my very first pig. Actually, it was 2 pigs. Over a couple of years, we went from 2 to 4 to 6 to 12 pigs. And I still hadn't butchered one. I finally learned how to butcher a pig. And then we actually wound up moving farms, moving to a different farm. At that new farm where we are now, it's a bigger farm, we didn't have anybody that we knew who processed pigs. So with all the pork that we had raised ourselves, all the money we were able to save doing our own pork, we wound up investing in the equipment to process our own pigs. Now we saved thousands and thousands of dollars on all the pork for our family. We were able to take that money and actually go and buy a smoker. You also, if you want to save money, you could DIY, you could build your own smoker. We got a pellet smoker. And now this journey, which took us probably about 6 years from the very first pigs we raised to actually getting a smoker, now we were able to raise our own pigs, slaughter, cut, completely cut, package all our pork, and finally, after purchasing a smoker, we were able to smoke all our hams, smoke all our bacon, and of course, smoke our sausage. It all starts with a sausage. You're thinking, hey, I don't want to do pastured pork. So no, it doesn't start with a sausage. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do dairy goats and maybe sell some goat milk soap? Well, then it all starts with a soap. Maybe you don't want to work with livestock. Maybe it's garden. You want to grow some, you want to grow some tomatoes and some different veggies and peppers. It all starts with a salsa. Whatever you want to grow and produce, find the end product. And right now, this weekend, at your current home, if you're in a 3rd-story apartment, if you live in your parents' basement, wherever you are, learn to make that product. And learn however you can. You probably don't have the equipment to grind your own sausage, so buy ground pork. If you don't have the equipment or the chemicals to make soap, you can actually buy just plain bars of soap that you can melt down and then infuse different scents and different textures into and kind of create your own fancy soaps. If you want to make salsa, right? Go out and buy from the farmer's market, or just go to wherever you buy your groceries and get the ingredients and learn how to make your own unique salsa. Starts with a sausage, it starts with a soap, it starts with a salsa. You're going to save money by creating the value-added product yourself, and you can take that money that you save little by little over time and you can put it into the equipment that you need and keep growing and growing. Imagine now, 10 years from now, you have this homesteading dream and you have no extra money right now, so you can't go out and buy a homestead. But instead of just sitting around and wishing you could and being sad that you're not able to do anything because you have no money, imagine this weekend you go out and you start learning these skills and they start snowballing and you start getting more and more skills, and maybe you do sausage and soap and salsa and you learn all there is. Now in 10 years your life has changed. Maybe you make more money, right? You got some promotions at work, or you started a business and things went well. Now in 10 years you're in a position to go out and buy a farm. You're not that guy who's got a bunch of money and zero experience and winds up putting the garden in the wrong place and killing all the tomatoes. I can't tell you how many people, I know I've done it myself, and I know lots of people who do this. They go and they start their first garden, they plant a bunch of tomato plants, and they do actually okay, and they get a ton of tomatoes, and now they have so many tomatoes. They call this the burden of abundance. They have this burden of abundance. They don't know what to do with all these tomatoes. They don't know how to make salsa. They don't know how to can. And all their hard work and this huge, beautiful harvest, they wind up giving away to people, which is nice. But also, wouldn't it be nicer if you could actually save your own harvest and have it when you need it over the winter time? If you had the skills to can, if you had the skills to make the salsas, to preserve that food. A lot of people actually wind up having a lot of produce from their garden just spoiled because they can't even give enough away. That's not going to be you, because you're going to have the skills, you're going to have the equipment, you're going to have worked for a long time at snowballing and getting better and better. So now when you actually go out and buy this farm and you have a really good harvest and your pigs do really well and your garden does really well and your goats are producing a lot of milk, at the end of that harvest season, you're going to have delicious sausage patties. You're going to have delicious smelling, wonderful, soft on your skin goat milk soap. And you're going to have some fantastic salsa to pour on those pork nachos. You're just going to have so much more success because you started even when you didn't have an extra penny. You start now, learn these skills. You'll be more prepared in the future for what the homestead life is going to throw at you. Even if it's that burden of abundance, which is a great problem to have, you'll be ready for it. This mint method, right? Learning as much as you can, diving into the information, and then networking as you go, you're going to find that the effect, the spreading and overtaking that happens when you put mint in a garden, this is going to start to happen in your homestead journey. You may start just learning about pigs, and then you might network and you might find a couple people who can help you learn to butcher or learn to source pigs, teach you how to feed or take care of pigs. And that network is going to continue to grow and grow. And this is where you start to get these opportunities that you never ever would get today. If you haven't started your homestead journey, nobody is going to offer you a free cow. But one of the side effects of this mint method is you're going to start to have people offering to give you things that you want for no money. And that's where people who haven't started on this journey hear stories about how, oh man, this guy got a free cow and this guy got access to land and this guy got, this piece of equipment, and they think, oh man, must be nice. That never happens to me. You haven't started yet. So these opportunities will not show up without you having started on this journey. But just like that mint plant, as that mint plant continues to spread more and more, you are going to spread more and more. Your network's going to grow. And suddenly these opportunities are going to start finding you a lot quicker. This is how we got offered a free milk cow, right? A milk cow is a huge investment. If you've ever looked into buying your own milk cow, even a less expensive family milk cow that you just find, maybe an older cow at a local dairy, that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars. And if you go out and you find your own really good high quality family milk cow, you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on this family milk cow. We had thought about getting into a family milk cow, and still in this homestead journey, we were not rolling in money. We didn't have tons of money to throw around, but we knew that we could get a good value from a family milk cow. We had enough going on in the homestead where the cost would, the cost would cover all the benefits we would get from this cow would be worth the big cost. So we started doing our research, and we did it in the two ways, the mint method. We learned as much. We got the book, Keeping a Family Milk Cow. We watched YouTube videos. We dove into online blogs and just read as much as we could about family milk cows. And then at the same time, we started sending those shoots out in different directions to ask people, hey, do you have a family milk cow? And I noticed you have some dairy cows. We pick people's brains. We wound up getting invited to go and see a cow, mini Jersey cow farm. We were invited to go see how to milk this mini Jersey. So we went to the farm and we got a little tour and we saw the mini Jerseys and we learned how to milk the cow. And then that person who invited us there invited us to what was called a family cow forum. So now we went to this event, which I believe was free. If it wasn't free, it was probably just a couple bucks to get in the door, but I think it was a free event. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember all the details. But at the family cow forum, there was literally a table with 6 or 7 different people who had a family milk cow for years and years. And they told stories and they explained what you needed in equipment, and everybody had something different to cover. They had food there. You could try the cheeses these people had made and their butter. And it was just this really great little event that happened locally where we were. But this kind of thing happens all over the place. And as you continue to meet people and talk to people and learn more, these little opportunities and these events and things, you're going to learn about them. You're going to be there and you're going to be talking to people. And that's where you really want to push yourself to tell people what your goals are. Ask questions. If you're introverted, you're going to have to push yourself. Maybe go with some questions in mind that you want to get answers to. Push yourself to ask the questions, meet the people, grow your network. Because that's how you're going to find out, hey, this person's selling a cow. This person has this that, they're looking to maybe rehome. We wound up learning about a family milk cow that was for sale. So we went and we met this guy who was selling this cow, and she was a big Jersey, big producing milk cow. So just tons and tons of milk. We learned about her. We watched her get milked. We learned everything we needed to. And at the time, we were not ready for that kind of production. We thought, you know what? This is too much milk. This is too much cow for our very first milk cow. And we told him, you know what? Thank you very much, but we're going to pass. We didn't want to spend money on this cow. I got a phone call a few days later. Nobody had been interested in the cow. He wasn't able to sell it. Because we had experience with livestock, we went and we toured his farm. We asked all the right questions. We told him about our story and how we had worked with dairy goats and we'd worked with pigs and chickens. We had all this experience. He knew, between our experience, our knowledge, we would be a good home for his family milk cow. He said, I'm not really worried about the money. I just want her to go to a good home. I will give you this milk cow for free because I want her to go to a good home. That will not happen to you if you have zero experience. If nobody knows you're interested in livestock, if you have not learned a lot about these different animals and you don't have any experience, no one's going to say to you, hey, I got a milk cow, you can have it for free. But if you start developing these skills, if you start learning as much as you can, if you start growing your network, you may find this happens more and more and more. Every single day, there's a farmer who is getting rid of some animal that they like, they care about, they know is still a good quality animal, they just don't want to work with it anymore. Maybe it's a goat that they just are tired of working with. Maybe it's a cow that they've really enjoyed working with, but they're done on their milking journey, right? It's a homesteader who had a family milk cow for 10 years, and they love this cow, and it's still got 10 good years in it. They just want to see it go to a good home. This happens all the time. And of course, these people would like to sell this animal. But in every corner of the world where there's a family milk cow for sale or a good dairy goat or a flock of chickens, there's not always the demand for that animal. That person doesn't always find someone to come along and buy it. And so the next best thing for this homesteader is 100% finding the animal a good home, even if it means they give it to them. I know this because it has happened to us. We've had people give us chickens. They already had enough chickens. They had a few extra. They said, we're just looking for a good home. We got free chickens. Not because we had a YouTube channel. It had nothing to do with Homesteady. It's just networking and people you know. Same with dairy goats. This happened long before we had the Homesteady YouTube channel. We had some dairy goats. We had actually purchased a few dairy goats from someone. They decided to just get rid of their whole herd. They were done with dairy goats at this stage in their life. And they had a couple more dairy goats that were great quality, really good animals. They wanted it to go to a good home. And I told them, listen, we don't have it in the budget right now to buy any more goats from you. They said, don't worry about it. We'll give you the goats. We know you. We know your farm. We want them to go to a good home. You can become that person. You can learn all there is to learn about health and nutrition. You can get hands-on experience. You can do everything you need to do and grow your network so you're the kind of person who people say, hey, they want this animal and I know they'll take great care of it. I'm going to give it to them because I know it's going to a good home. So become that good home for that animal. And you do that by starting this weekend, learning the skills and getting that snowballing effect, that mint method. If you haven't started homesteading, then your homesteading network is just you. That first little mint seed or that first little mint shoot that goes in the ground. You have a lot of networking and growing to do. So how can you accelerate this? How can you meet more people, get more hands-on learning, even without having your own homestead, grow that network? Well, there's some places that you go to and things you can do to help spread your network, grow your network a lot quicker. There are clubs. There are livestock clubs. There are groups who get together more casually based around beekeeping. There's family milk cow get-togethers. There's different programs. So just look for those in your area. Look for people who get together based off a common interest in some kind of animal, some kind of livestock. If you live in an agricultural area or you're close enough where you can drive to it, in the harvest season, there's always fairs. And at the fairs, you're going to see lots of people showing off their pigs, showing off their cows, showing off their produce. Pick their brain, talk to them, learn about them. Farmers markets. Farmers markets are a great place to meet the people who are growing the things that you want to grow. Go to the farmers market, pick people's brain, learn about their products. But here's the best tip that I can give you for this. If you want to raise pigs and you go to a guy at the farmers market selling pork, buy something from him. You're going to ask him a bunch of questions. You're going to take up some of his time. So make sure, pay for some product. Get some bacon. And get some sausage. Ask him about his recipe. Oh, what's the difference between your spicy Italian and your breakfast sausage? What do you put in it? Go to a couple different producers. Meet a lot of different people. If you go to fairs, if you go to farmers markets, just local farms. Finding local farms who sell different products like pork, who sell salsas, who sell soaps. Go to these places, buy their products. If you're already spending the money at the grocery store for bacon, go buy bacon at the farmer's market. Now, it's going to be more expensive, that's for sure. And if you don't have extra money, that may mean you're buying less bacon, but you're making a friend, you're growing your network. And here's the big thing. After a week or two of visiting and purchasing something from them, establishing a connection, offer your help. If it's your strength, your muscle, if you've been doing your studying and you have lots of knowledge now, you just want to apply it, let these people know. Say, listen, I've really been interested in starting my own pork farm. I don't have a farm yet, but someday in the future I would like to. I've learned about pasturing pigs and working with pigs. I'd like to get some hands-on experience. Can I come and volunteer at your farm? spend a couple hours in the week maybe helping you move pigs. I once had a farmer who invited me to join for pig castration day. Got a lot of hands-on learning that day. It was a wild day, lots of knowledge passed on. Never forget pig castration day. Think of this as a barter, right? You're going to give of your time, your energy, and in return, you're going to get an education. You're going to get hands-on learning, and you may even get more. You might wind up going home with product. I remember anybody that I had volunteer at our farm back in Connecticut, anybody who came and helped on chicken butcher day or on a pig processing day, I always sent them home with some product. Now, here's the thing. If you go this weekend to your farmer's market, and you've never been there before, and you walk up to a pig farmer, or you walk up to someone who does salsa or goat milk soap, and you say, "Hi, I'd like to come help on your farm," 9 out of 10, they're going to tell you no. Or nicely going to say like, "Oh, well, I'll keep that in mind," and never call you. Just by nature, rural life, farm living, a lot of times we don't want to bring someone we don't know onto our farm. A farm can be a dangerous place. People can get hurt. You can wind up with liability issues. I have had lots of people, because of the nature of the YouTube channel and the podcast, email me and say, "Hey, I'd like to come and volunteer." And I can never say yes to that because I don't know these people. I don't know what they're capable of. I don't know, honestly, if you don't know someone, you don't know if you can trust them, right? If you go to someone at the farmer's market this weekend and say, "I want to come help on your farm," and they don't know you, they're not going to have you help on their farm. Probably never going to happen. People will say, I've seen it in the comments, like, "Oh, I always offer my help and no farmers ever take me up on it." They need to get to know you better, and that happens through growing a relationship. So become a regular customer, a friendly regular customer who supports them. Every time you go and buy bacon from them, chat with them a little bit, learn a little bit more. If they're in the middle of something and you're there picking up bacon, say, "Oh, do you need a hand?" It's just nonchalant, low-key. They know you. You're there every week buying bacon from them. They are happy to see you. And then when you say, "Oh, let me give you a hand with that," you just jump in and give them some help. It's going to be easier for them to trust you and accept that. And then when they tell you, "Oh yeah, I got a big chicken processing day coming up next month," and then you say, "I would love to learn to butcher chickens. I'm really good at breaking down chickens. I learned how to do that at home. I buy whole chickens and I break them down. I could join you on your chicken butcher day. I could break down all the chickens for you. I'm really fast at it. Also, I would like to learn how to kill the chickens and pluck the chickens." They're now probably, honestly, if somebody I knew and trusted, had a rapport with, said, "I'm good at breaking down chickens and I'd love to join you for chicken butcher day," you're getting invited to chicken butcher day, 100%. Same goes for pig butcher day. Any of the days that I know are really hard and challenging, and you come to me and you say, "I've already got these skills, I've already learned this, I don't know how to do this, but I'd like to learn by helping you, and I know you, we've been doing business together, we've gotten to know each other," now you're much more likely to get that invitation. Started at the fair, started at the farmer's market, started at the farm stand, started at the clubs, the beekeeping clubs, the get-togethers, open farm days, wherever it needs to start. Continue to support their agriculture, their farm. You don't have extra money to spend, but you can take the money you spend at Walmart and now shift it to this local farm, buying a better quality product, maybe buying the products that people don't normally purchase. I guarantee you that the guy who sells pastured pork, he has a freezer full of pig hearts and a freezer full of jowl bacon and pig, half pig heads and lard, just tons of lard. So even if you can only afford the cuts no one else wants, become a supporter of them, get to know them, and over time, as you develop that relationship, become their friend, become someone they know they can trust, you're going to get more chances to help them. And that's where, again, this network effect, this mint method really starts to shine. Because if you wind up actually becoming a friend of a farmer, somebody who does this, and they know you're really trying to make this happen, they're going to help you make it happen. A farmer who knows someone's a hard worker, knows someone has been learning for years all they can, and all they need is the opportunity, maybe a little piece of land, maybe a couple seed livestock, and they know you and they trust you. Farmers love to see their passion, their favorite animal, their skills. They love to see that continue, right? When we talk about farmers and homesteaders, these are people who plant seeds, put trees in the ground that they may never eat of their produce, right? They plant oak trees and they plant apple trees, and knowing they'll not enjoy the whole lifespan. We like to see this propagation. We like to see this life continue. So if a farmer or a homesteader sees someone who is excited, who's hardworking, who's trying every way they can, and they know all they lack is the money, the farmer is going to help. The homesteader is going to help. They're going to say, listen, I just sold a bunch of pigs, but I got one left over, and I know I want it to go to a good home. Take this pig. Take two, because I don't want to see one pig by itself, so take two. Or, you know what, I know you're dying to have chickens. I got too many chickens now. I just had a clutch hatch that I didn't know was happening. Take them. And you know what, I got an old coop. Take the coop too. I got a corner lot on this farm that I'm not doing anything with. You want to pasture some pigs? Put them out in that corner. Go ahead, run them around, get a little solar fencing, run them around. These connections that you form, these relationships are how this dream can happen with no money. I cannot tell you how many opportunities over 15 years of homesteading I have got where I have got free animals, free equipment, free access to land, all not because of this podcast or this YouTube channel, not because of being Homesteady, but because I've had connections with people who knew we would do a good job and wanted to see their favorite livestock or their favorite type of plant or whatever it is keep growing. So this is your first day. This is you putting that little mint plant in your raised bed, not knowing it's about to spread like wildfire. You don't have any extra money to spare. You don't have an extra penny. That's okay. Take the pattern that you have now. Think about what you want to grow in the future. Go to your daily, your weekly grocery bill. Say, okay, if I want to grow a vegetable full of, tomatoes and do salsa, instead of going out and buying salsa this week, buy the ingredients. It starts with the sausage. It starts with the salsa. It starts with the soap. Learn how to do that. Get the skills. Get the knowledge, get everything you need to foundation level. Because 10 years from now, if you start this weekend, this is your homework, pick one thing and start this weekend. If you keep doing that, in 10 years, you will absolutely be able to afford that homestead. You will be able to afford the livestock. You will have made this happen if you start. And that's where I have a warning for you. The skills that you're going to learn, the knowledge you're going to acquire, all this stuff that you do this weekend, you can actually save money doing that. When you finally do get that homestead and you finally do get that livestock, you're going to need a little bit extra money on the side. The emergency fund, livestock, they can be very expensive. Vet bills can come out of nowhere and wind up really getting you in trouble. When you got to purchase hay for the winter time, or even worse, you ran out of hay and you're buying hay in March. Problems like this are going to pop up. Things that you weren't anticipating. Something's going to break. You're going to need to fix it. Otherwise, the animals are going to get out. When you're at that level of homesteading, you cannot be operating with no extra money. So that's why while you're working on learning these skills, while you're working on attaining all this knowledge and networking, you also want to start getting your financial life sorted so that you do have some extra money to invest into your homestead and keep your homestead going. Because even if you raise your own pork, and even if it winds up at the end being profitable, feeding those pigs, the month you buy that feed, there's going to be a lot of money that you need to put into that. So you have to have money to work with to make these homestead dreams happen. So a little bit of advice, if you right now have no extra money, One resource that is fantastic that we used back when we were in debt, we didn't have a lot of extra money to put into our homestead life, Dave Ramsey. We've been talking about, things snowballing. Dave Ramsey has a debt snowball method where you pay off your debt, and his method helps you pay it off quicker, and you'll find yourself with more money to work with doing his method. Learn about Dave Ramsey and his debt snowball method. Get yourself out of debt. Dave Ramsey has a fantastic bit of advice. He says start with an emergency fund. So get yourself an emergency fund of $1,000. Then get yourself completely out of debt. Over the next 5 years, if you're learning skills, growing your network, and at the same time becoming more financially responsible, maybe mixing these two worlds where you get yourself out of debt, you also have developed skills where maybe you're making salsa. You don't even have a farm yet, but you're buying all the things you need for salsa, and you have your own special recipe. Maybe you learn how to sell some salsa. Now you're making a little bit of money from your homesteading hobby. That is now going into your homestead fund, and because you're out of debt and because you already have an emergency fund, that is safe. Now you're finding what you thought was going to take you 10 years, you're able to acquire and begin in 5. So just know homesteading will require a lot of money as you continue to grow your homestead and dive in. So get yourself financially over the next few years while you're learning the skills, while you're getting the equipment bit by bit. Also get yourself in a better place financially to handle the bigger problems. And now when you're at the level of running a big homestead and you have all sorts of things that you're bankrolling, you also have lots of opportunity to sell product, keep your homestead in a profitable place, and feeding your family just like you're wishing you could do today, you just don't have the money for it. Using this method, you're going to be able to get yourself the knowledge, you're going to be able to get skills, experience. You may even find people are offering you livestock and equipment and things, going to a good home. What about land? In an upcoming episode, we're going to dive into the subject all about how to get access to land without paying a penny for it. So while you're waiting for that episode to come out, check out this episode where we talk about how to find inexpensive land that you can purchase so you can start your homestead without spending as much money as you would if you were going out and buying agricultural land, which can cost a fortune.